Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Alex, and this is a good 10 minutes on this March 21st, which is a Thursday. I hope everyone's having a great week so far. Let's get right into it. Always starting off with markets. Another great day for the markets yesterday. NASDAQ up 1.25%. NASDAQ has been an absolute fire so far this year. S&P 500 up 89 basis points to over 5,200. Dow is up 1.03%, which is fantastic. Bitcoin had a tremendous recovery yesterday, up 9.05%. So really, really great news in the market and in the crypto markets as well. The reason for that is because the Fed held interest rates steady, right? So no changes there, but it did reaffirm its plans for rate cuts this year, and it did promise three. So three rate cuts in 2024, which makes borrowing money a lot less expensive, which attracts investors to the stock market. So should be another good year in 2024. That's what I predict anyway. Chipotle had a wonderful day as well yesterday. It was up 3.48%. It did hit an all-time high on the news that its board approved a rare 50-to-1 stock split to make it more accessible to investors. Chipotle's price per share is $2,895. Incredible. Good for Chipotle. All right, some more market updates for you as well. Today, March 21st, is the day you can finally own stock in Reddit. The 19-year-old company listed on the New York Stock Exchange as RDDT, that's the ticker. It's selling 22 million shares priced at $34 a piece, valuing Reddit at $6.4 billion. But that's pretty much the only conventional thing about this IPO, which is being bet against by some of the very people who make the site what it is. Here's what's going on. In a nod to the platform's reliance on user-generated content, Reddit set aside 1.76 million shares for certain US-based highly active users. Many Redditors have not only passed on the IPO, they're getting ready to dance on its grave. The 15 million member r/Wall Street Bets subreddit, which briefly turned GameStop to gold in 2021, is filled with talk of shorting RDDT and watching it absolutely plummet. Any Redditors who did not buy before the bell won't have to wait typically mandatory 6 months before selling, so they could cash in on initial surges. Growing pains are happening at Reddit. Last year, Reddit CEO Steve Huffman said it was time to behave like an adult company. But the untenable beast that is the Reddit community hasn't always been on board with Huffman's efforts to make the site profitable. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Now that it has a fiduciary duty to make its shareholders richer, Reddit has to figure out how to turn a profit without enraging users. But in a move that will probably anger many of them anyway, Reddit is looking to diversify its main revenue stream, which are ads, by selling the ability for companies to train their AI models on user-generated content. By the way, Reddit did just sign a $60 million per year data licensing contract with Google, but the FTC is still probing the deal, so it's not completely official. All right, I have three major headlines for you. The Fed, again, as I mentioned earlier, is sticking to the plan. Investors were worried about what Jerome Powell might bring them yesterday, 320. After several indicators that inflation isn't quite as licked as the Fed hoped. It was when it was made projections about rates, but they needn't have been because Jay Powell and company stuck to the forecast they laid out in December, predicting 3 rate cuts before the year's out. Powell shrugged off the recent data on sticky high prices, saying, I think they haven't really changed the overall story, which is that of inflation moving down gradually on a sometimes bumpy road to 2%. Intel got an $8.5 billion government grant to build chip factories. It's the largest grant awarded so far under the CHIPS Act to spur U.S. semiconductor production, and Intel plans to use it to build and expand facilities in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon. Intel could also be eligible for another $11 billion in loans under the same legislation, a signature piece of President Biden's economic agenda. Gucci is in the headlines as well. The French luxury brand that owns Gucci, called Kering, by the way, everyone thinks it's an Italian company. It's actually owned by a French luxury company. It expects the brand's sales to fall 20% in the first quarter compared to last year, because its products aren't moving as well as anticipated in Asia. Through a slowdown in spending in China, where Gucci does 30% of its sales, this has impacted many luxury brands. They're not all suffering as much as Gucci, but nevertheless, that is the case. We do have some new car rules that are Biden's biggest climate move as of yet. The Biden administration rolled out new rules yesterday that aim to put out more electric car demand, marking one of the federal government's strongest moves toward tackling climate change since the introduction of Smokey Bear. It is not a ban on gas-powered cars, by the way. The Environmental Protection Agency regulations, which go into effect starting 2027, increasingly limit pollution permitted from tailpipes, which in turn will push automakers toward making models that comply with those limits, aka EVs and hybrids. The policy tightens emission limits more slowly than EPA originally proposed last year, signaling somewhat of a concession by the Biden administration to automakers and auto workers, but it still expects to have serious impacts. All right, moving on to some Glassdoor news as well. Some of you may use Glassdoor for professional uses and to review potential, employment opportunities with various companies by looking at employee-generated reviews. Users of Glassdoor are reporting that their names and job titles are being added to their accounts without their consent. So it's no longer anonymous as it had promised to be. So watch out when you're putting in those reviews on Glassdoor. You can still post anonymously and hide your private info, but last July, the site officially integrated with the networking app Fishbowl, which requires users to verify their identity with their full name, title, and the company for which they work. So be careful for that. What does this mean for Glassdoor's whole thing of being anonymous and private? Since it's the only place on the internet where you can anonymously clown on your CEO's management style, users are concerned that even if they chose to keep their personal info private, it could now be more easily subpoenaed or leaked. Glassdoor said it has successfully objected and resisted 100 plus subpoenas for users' identities. So very risky. All right, Disneyland may still be the happiest place on earth, but the rest of the US is falling behind in the happiness department, especially for people under 30. In this year's list of the world's happiest countries, the US dropped to number 23 from number 15 last year, marking the first time it hasn't cracked the top 20 since ranking began in 2012. Much of the dip stems from young Americans feeling worse about their lives. This is according to Gallup, which polled thousands of under 30-year-olds. Young Americans are feeling worse about their lives, as I had mentioned. So if you're looking for a happy place to hunker down, Finland, believe it or not, maintained its status as number 1. What else is brewing? Well, we do have, as always, finishing off with 6 quick hitters. The LA Dodgers fired Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, accusing him of stealing millions, and I believe it was 4.5 million from the baseball star. Incredible. Neuralink, which is Elon Musk's brain implant company, posted a video on X of its first human user showing off what he can do with the device. Private equity firm Apollo Global Management has offered $11 billion for Hollywood studio Paramount Pictures, through Paramount Global is reportedly also considering other takeover offers. So Paramount is still for sale if you're looking. Boeing warned investors it's looking at a big loss for Q1 as it struggles with continued fallout from a door plug coming off a plane mid-flight in January. Ireland's Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, unexpectedly said he will step down, calling his reasons for resigning personal and political, but mainly political. The UK's privacy watchdog is investigating reports that hospital staff tried to improperly access Kate Middleton's hospital records as rumors regarding the princess continue to swirl. That's all I have for the day. Getting all these news updates for you in under 10 minutes as always. Comment, like, subscribe. I appreciate comments, feedback, etc. Thank you so much, and I will see you for tomorrow's Friday edition of A Good 10 Minutes. Thank you. Take care.